The Aral Sea began to dry up half a century ago. This tragedy was referred to for the first time in 1961. The main reason for drop in water level of this unique interior lake called sea due to its enormous size was already clear by that time. Rapid development of irrigated farming along the two rivers flowing into Aral, Sir Darya and Amu Darya. The Soviet Union, the country that not long ago emerged victorious after the terrible World War, turned out to be involved in the Cold War and enforced to enter into arms race, had an urgent need for development of its own cotton industry. Since cotton is not only textile but powder explosive as well. Revolving with acceleration flywheel of the bureaucratic matching of the government, indisputable authority of the communistic organization making no doubts about its own rightness, the urge of local rules towards making career by all means, and the ideology "we cannot wait for nature's favor, we have to get it ourselves," crushed any attempts aimed at examination of the perspectives of such policy and prevention of its results.
Многочисленные каналы и арыки несут живительную влагу на необозримые поля Чилийского района в Зубардинской области. Бесплодную или пустынную землю колхозники превратили в плодородный край.
Over the last 10,000 years, natural water balance of Aral has been formed from river water inflow, atmosphere precipitation and ground water flow minus loss due to evaporation from the entire water surface and infiltration of the sea water to into the bottom. Evaporation has been always significantly affecting the water volume of Aral surrounded by deserts. From the beginning of regular geographic research of Aral in 1911 and through half a century till the year 1961, when the first signs of drying up appeared, average early volume of evaporation from the entire lake surface was little more than 66 square kilometers of water, and water infiltration volume was quite insignificant, not more than 0.15 square kilometers. The main sources of water inflow were the flows of the two main rivers in the aggregated making up of the average 56 cubical kilometers, atmosphere precipitation little more than 9 cubical kilometers, and groundwater flow on the average up to 3.5 cubical kilometers annually. As a whole, till the year 1961, there was approximate equality between Aral's water inflow and water loss attributable to evaporation from its surface, which ensured stability of its level. As construction of irrigation channels and water withdrawal for agricultural needs began, volume of water inflow into the Aral Sea began to decrease. After loss of water balance, the level of Aral Sea began to fall rapidly below the level of 53 meters above the ocean level, which was typical for it in the stable period. From 1975 till 1985, average fall in the level was 71 centimeters. And from 1986 till 1990, fall achieved the rate of 88 centimeters a year. By that time, the sea's level decreased by 16 meters. As a result, Aral Island, drawn from west to the east, merged with the western shore of Aral. In 1968, after drying up of shallow, up to 2 meters deep, channel Auzik Aral, and in 1991 merged with the eastern shore of Aral after drying up of rather deep water, up to 13 meters deep, Berg Strait. Once integrated, Aral's aquatic area appeared to be divided into two parts. Relatively small northern part named the Small Aral Sea or Small Aral, and rather big southern part named the Big Aral Sea or the Big Aral. At the time, aggregate volume of the aquatic area reached 370 cubical kilometers, and its total area was more than 40,000 square kilometers, where the Small Aral's volume was less than 40,000 square kilometers, where the Small Aral's volume was less than 30 square kilometers, and its area was about 3,500 square kilometers. The small Aral appeared to be 11-fold smaller in volume and 10-fold smaller in area in comparison with the big Aral. As the two aquatic areas were isolated, new stage of Aral's story began. Till the year 1989, fall in the sea's level was equal in the whole aquatic area thanks to the Bering Strait connection, the eastern and the western parts together. After their complete isolation, change in the level of the big Aral and small Aral became different in rates and even in directions. Retrospective water balance of the northern part of Aral Sea has shown that during 4 years from 1988 till 1991, with total river inflow of about 13.5 cubical kilometers, 10.5 cubical kilometers of water evaporated and about 6.5 cubical kilometers flowed into the Big Sea. At that, more than 3.5 cubical kilometers flowed out of the small sea and its level decreased by 1.5 meter till the level of 39 meters above the ocean level. In spite of the fact that Bering Strait dried up as early as the year 1989, there was an artificial channel in its place. It was digged through as recently as the early 1980s for purposes of ensuring maritime traffic mainly between Aral City and military base located at the Renaissance Island. After disappearance of the Bering Strait, this 4 kilometers channel cropped out and the level of the Big Sea began to decrease steadily. At the same time, the small Aral Sea began to be filled with the water due to greater water inflow from Sidaria River, atmosphere precipitation and groundwater flow. As a result, hydrological slope between the northern and southern aquatic areas began to increase, entailing water spill over the artificial channel being sealed covered by the moment of inrush of water. Water current flowing from the north to the south easily washed seal away from the channel surface and began to wash out the soil, increasing the depth and width of the channel. By the spring 1992, the channel's length was 5 kilometers with a depth of 2 meters and width of 100 meters. Permanently self-dependent channel in perspective could rather thus reach in estuary of the Sidaria River and turn its flow towards the big Aral, at the same time condemning the small Aral to total disappearance. This could be allowed in no case since the population of the sub-Aral region was concentrated mainly in its northern part. Disappearance of such a big aquatic area as the small Aral could result in extraordinarily severe ecological and economical consequences. Scientists of the Zoological Institute of Russian Academy of Sciences noticed that situation in addressed to the authorities of the Aral region proposal on filling up of the channel and erection of a rock-fill embankment, so-called Kokoral dike, in the area of the Bering Strait. The government of Kazakhstan responded immediately and took right decision. It was decided to fill up the channel and begin erection of an artificial dike, in so doing elimination the possibility of water inflow from smaller Aral to the big Aral. The channel was dammed for the first time in the first half of the year 1992, but water broke the dike. Then the channel was completely dammed in August of the same year and a dike 1 meter high was erected. As a consequence of this, in 1992, difference between the levels of the aquatic areas of big and small seas exist 3 meters, but as a result of continuous breaks of the dike, continued flow of water from the north to the south resulted in a washaway of the bottom of the Nick Point dividing the seas. Over 4 years, its level decreased to 38 meters above the ocean level. Being developed, such situation could result in complete generation of the small sea within several years, since upon decrease of its level to the point of 37 meters, the small Aral aquatic area would be divided into multiply isolated parts. Having understood the severity of the problems facing the population of the northern sub-Aral region, the government of Kazakhstan set a task on working out of a project of erection of a dike at the former Bering's Channel. As a consequence, in 1993, Kazgidroprovodhouse Institute drew up a pioneering project of Kokoral dike, making provisions for creation of a field dam from the local sand with the height of 3 meters, crest at the point of 33.5 meters and with the length of 12.7 kilometers. In the same year, the channel connection the big and the small seas was dammed, but winter discharge from Toktagul water storage reservoir exceeded established capacity, which result in water spilling over the dike's crest and its break. The dike is of great economical and ecological importance for the sub-Aral region. Water flowing into the small Aral gradually covers many salty surfaces of the former bottom, which results in reduction in the number of salt storms in the region. Increase of the small Aral's level is of great psychological importance for the local residents, who see the sign of a turn for the better in their situation. Besides, erection of a dike was not aimed at permanent isolation of the small sea from the big sea. On the contrary, after increase of the small sea's level to 50-52 meters above the ocean level, excessive water, if any, was planned to be discharged to the big Aral through a hydraulic work of a dike or, whenever possible, through the Aral channel. In 1996, the channel was dammed for the second time and erection of dike was continued. In April 1997, water level was little more than 41 meters, and as a result of wind setup reaching 16 centimeters, water spilling over the incomplete part of the dike took place again. There was created new breakage with a frontal width of 125 meters and depth up to 2 meters. Due to water discharged to the big sea through the apparent breakage, the small sea's level was reduced to 40 meters above the ocean level by the middle of the year 1997. By autumn 1997, the earth dike at the location of breakage was reconstructed again. But beginning from the second half of 1998, construction of Aral dike started to be financed by the International Aral Sea Rescue Fund. The project of dike made provisions for construction of an overflow hydraulic work. During 1997 year, with abundance of water, more than 7 cubical kilometers of river water flowed into the small sea. During the whole year, there was continuous filling of the sea and its level reached almost 42 meters in the end of the fourth quarter. In December 1998, this level of the small sea was maintained successfully, but the level of the big sea decreased to 37 meters and difference was 5 meters already. By the spring 1999, the level of the small sea was restored to the point of 43.5 meters. But the nature taught it unexpected in the bitter lesson in the spring 1999. During powerful storm taking place on April 20th, there appeared high wind generated waves on the small sea. Wild water crushed and washed out the dike at the unfinished section. Huge amount of water was spilled over the crushed section of the dike. As a result, more than 7 cubical kilometers of sea water flowed to the big sea, and the level of the northern part of the sea reduced to 40 meters above the ocean level by the end of 1999. This was a disaster taking human lives. During the break, there were 50 building tradesmen at the dike under construction. 2 of them died and 27 people were rescued from the tops of tractors and lorries by means of the helicopter, motorboats and boats under the conditions of storm. This was a bitter lesson. The victory that almost has been achieved was replaced by desiderium and anguish for the lost lives. It was necessary to begin everything almost at the beginning, having gathered strange and concentrated will. Under such severe conditions, the government of Kazakhstan worked out the first stage of a comprehensive plan, control over the estuary of the Sidaria River and maintenance of the northern part of Aral Sea by the year 2011. That made provisions for reconstruction of the dike and rehabilitation of the plain foot of the Sidaria River. All the works were financed on the account of the funds borrowed from the World Bank, $64.5 million, and the budget of the Kazakhstan, more than $21 million. Russian company Zarubezhvodstroy successfully completed construction of a dam at the Berg Strait in the autumn 2005. As a result, the level of the small sea increased to 42 meters above the ocean level. water covered 870 square kilometers of dried sea bottom, and the volume of water in the small Aral reached 11.5 cubical kilometers. Water salinity was reduced from 23.28 to 11 and 14 grams to liter. Nowadays, there is taking place restoration of the biological diversity of the northern subaral region. By now, increase of the small sea's volume leads to increase in reserves of 11 local species of fish: bream, European carp, grass carp, sander, flatfish, sea adder, Baltic herring, a source, and 3 species of guppies. Volume of industrial fishing increased from 400 to 11,700 tons. Change in water salinity will lead to restoration of freshwater fauna and flora, as well as creation of favorable conditions of breeding of sturgeons. Construction of Cockerel Dike leads to restoration of the nature of the northern sub-Aral region. There were 30 species of fish, 40 species of mammals, more than 300 species of birds, among which 128 species are migratory natatorial birds. However, the main value consists in the fact one of the biggest migratory paths of the migration birds flying from the north to the South Caspian and Indo-Pakistani wintering grounds passes through the sub-Aral region. If annual number of the nesting wading birds reached tens or thousands, in the period of migration, especially in autumn, this may number in the millions. In spite of the fact that over the last decades, due to drying up of the Aral, the total number of species of birds of the northern subaral region has been reduced almost by a half, and their habitat was subjected to significant changes. The aquatic area of the small Aral Sea plays the most important role during the periods of birds' migration, especially in connection with catastrophic shallowing of the Big Aral. A problem of no little significance for the Aral region is provision of the population with quality drinking water. Over the last years in the northern subaral region, there have been put into operation about 800 kilometers of water main and entire village distribution mains, which allowed to ensure centralized water supply to 29 population centers of the region. But there is a danger which our remote and near ancestors never faced. This is the danger of chemical contamination. The Aral Sea drawn off the shores has uncovered the sea bottom with an area of more than 60,000 square kilometers that is scattered with the pesticides and other chemical applied in agriculture. Up to 30 million tons of salt dust are blown out of uncovered bottom and carried out of the bounds of the Aral Sea annually. Due to this, according to the data of medical experts in the subaral region, there are common respiratory disease and oncological disease of throat and gullet. In order to provide medical assistance to the Kazakhstan part of the subaral region, there has been constructed and put into operation a diagnostic center designed for 600 visits per shift in Kizilorda. Central Regional Hospital designed for 175 beds with polyclinic for 200 visits per shift in Terenozek village, as well as other medical institutions. The government of Kazakhstan has started the second stage of the governmental project, which will result in construction of one more dike in the small sea at Sarachaganak channel, and water level will increase to 47 meters. It will almost reach Aral city. Construction of protection dikes and water diverting structures for the purpose of providing water supply to the lake systems of the estuary of the Sirdarya river will be continued.